am I going to get in trouble for this?
No.
Bullshit.
You won't.
You don't know that, not for sure.
You're right, I've got no idea.
I knew it.
You're supposed to be waiting at the ambulance with the captain.
And the fellas in the back are getting bored. They want to know if you found whatever it is you're after.
This is the third time we've stopped this morning. What exactly are you looking for anyway? Not that I'm complaining. It's a lovely day for a totally pointless ramble through the French countryside.
Shut up, Bob.
Is that an order, son?
Take a look at this tree.
Righto.
This is a magnificent tree, don't you think?
My mother had an oak dresser in the lounge, a nice piece of furniture.
No, I don't mean like that. Don't you think this is a beautiful tree? It is, isn't it?
It's beautiful. Oh, it's a tree, all right. An oak tree.
100 years living, 100 years dying, that's what they say.
Oh, I thought it was an oak in the hand is worth two in the bush. Or is that French girls?
This one's still young.
Just like the best French girls. Christ, we must be 20 miles behind the line.
Kilometres.
Eh?
Kilometres.
Well, then we're even further. Don't tell me that you have orders to come this far.
Lieutenant Sullivan told me to take some men and bury those 4 bodies.
He been up near the line with the rest, and you know it. We must be halfway back to bloody...
We won't be missed. There's nothing on today.
Maybe, maybe not. You'd have to ask the Germans what they have planned for the rest of the afternoon.
Have you got something better to be, Bob?
Is there a muddy hole with your name on it?
Just like to know what we're doing.
You're in the army, you're not supposed to know what you're doing.
But why all this way?
Burial detail.
Suit yourself, mate.
Ah! Gotcha! Vicious little bastard. Been stalking that bloody lights for days. Look at the size of it.
Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind. And therefore never sent to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee.
There was a young lady named Perkins who was exceedingly fond of green gherkins. She ate a whole quart, which was more than she ordered for. Pickled her internal workings.
Oh, must be Sunday, I've lost track.
There's a town in the valley, just over the tops of those poplars. You can just make out the spire of a church.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it might be some time.
Never heard of the lake.
Well, according to the map, the last river we drove over was there.
Church looks as though it's still in one piece.
If it is St. Omer, it's a cathedral. I've seen a painting of the cathedral at St. Omer by William Townsend.
That's so, do you believe the rumour?
Which one?
That the hunt are all but done in. They're saying the war could be over by Christmas.
Yeah, they said that in 14 and 15.
And 16.
And last year too.
But they're falling back now, aren't they? I saw a corpse of one the other day. It couldn't have been more than 16. If they're calling up kids, then it stands to reason they must be all out of reserve.
Maybe.
It's just, if this war is almost over, I'd like to stay lucky, survive right to the end, and being shot for desertion would put the kibosh on that.
There's not many men bother to take along 4 corpses with them when they desert.
It would make your pack rather heavy.
Exactly.
The military policemen just have to follow their noses.
Hard to stay downwind all the way back to New Zealand.
On the plus side, if you were caught deserting, you could always argue, it wasn't my idea, these blokes made me do it. They wouldn't mind half so much as me being shot by a firing squad. Seriously, apart from the perfect tree, what are you looking for?
This exact place, Bob. We're here.
Right, another decisive military decision. I'm going to tell the artist fellow what's his name.
Butler. And try to remember he's a captain.
Right. But he's a pretty strange bloke though, don't you think? Even for a captain. What the hell's he doing here with his pencils and his fancy
Following orders like everyone else.
Stupidest orders I've ever heard.
The Major told me to look after him for the 3 days he's with us. That's the only reason he's here.
He's a bloody snob. Hardly said a word all morning.
I think he found our passengers a little off-putting.
Oh, it's not their fault they can do with a bath. Though I suppose that particular smell is an acquired taste.
Need the pick at the ground stoning.
Digging. That'll be a novelty.
Listen!
What?
Shh. There.
Jesus.
What do you suppose that was?
On reflection, Sergeant Price, I'd say there was a bird.
A thrush?
Well, it's not a kiwi, so that narrows it down.
Can you see it?
No.
Wait. It might sing again.
I'll get the shovels.
It's a good sign, I think. Thrush in an oak tree. It might come back.
You let me know if it does. Right, you boys. Everybody out, you lazy bastards. There's digging to do and I can do it in a hand. Look lively, we haven't got all day. Right then, I'll do it myself.
Where's the captain?
I think maybe the aroma finally got to him. In the grass, there's a pile of what looks to my experienced eye like officer's puke. It's got a certain texture you don't get from your enlisted man.
No, where is he?
He's taken his little pad and his pencils.
Where?
Last seen advancing north up the hill, Sergeant, trying to capture higher ground.
Where do you go find him?
Oh, I don't suppose there are too many snipers up here. It's not taking a chunk of bit.
I'm responsible for him.
If he does stumble across a lost Fritz, he could always sketch it there. So where do you want them?
What do you think?
Well, too close to the tree and we're going to have all sorts of troubles with the roots. On the other hand, after the war, whoever owns this field may want to plough her up and plant it. Is each fella getting his own room?
I wanted to, but the ground's stony and there's only 3 of us.
Two. Butler's not going to do any digging, he's just here to draw his pretty little pictures.
It's almost midday already, we'll be pushing to get back before dark.
Why the hell didn't you bring a few more blokes along for this little joyride? It would have made it a damn sight easier.
We'll have to put them all in together.
Righto. It's always good to have company, so to speak. Nice and cosy. Well, here then. It's away from the tree, but close enough to the wall.
Don't you think this is a beautiful spot, Bob?
Idyllic. Maybe we could have a picnic after. Seriously, I don't know why you dragged us all this way. It's all the same to me.
No.
It is the
No, no, it's not the same. It's not the bloody same at all! Look around you, man! Open your bloody eyes! How can you say that this is the same? It can't be. It's what is this?
Okay, mate, calm down.
Look, this is an oak tree! Okay, an oak!
Right.
Can't you see
No,
that?
you're right. It's not the same. My mistake. She's a beauty posse.
Yes.
You want to hear a good story?
The one about the French butcher's daughter and the English general.
How's that one go?
The digger in the ward at Brockenhurst told it to me. Cooper. It was off a farm near Cocktyre, I think. Somewhere in Wiltwood anyway.
Go on then.
I'm no good at jokes. The last line was, French girl says to the general, the English general, Something like, I think it was... If that's the biggest you've got, I'll have to go back to getting my sausage from the Anzacs.
Is that it?
More or less.
I'd say less.
Cooper had the whole ward roaring with laughter for at least half an hour. One boy laughed so hard he burst his stitches. Paper was livid.
I'll have to wait to hear Cooper from Kaitai and tell it properly.
He got a blood infection. Died.
Anyway, my story really happened. It was in a station near Calais. Remember we were in tents for a few nights on that little farm before we moved up?
Yes.
We had to dig some latrines. On the strength of my full 2 years at Greymouth High School, I was sent to ask Madame where she'd like us to dig the necessary facilities. Now, Madame was about 16, had a face like the sharp edge of an axe and a body like a sack full of lumpy porridge. Possibly the ugliest woman I've ever seen outside of my own Aunt Agnes. Have I told you about my Aunt Agnes?
No.
Agnes is from Timaru. She has a glass eye and a wooden leg. Her glass eye wanders in the sense that sometimes it falls out and rolls across the floor. As a lad, I had the uneasy feeling that she was trying to look up my trouser leg. Once, I found that eye in a serving of Aunt Agnes's famous black pudding.
Thank you, Robert.
She said.
I've been wondering where that got to. She wiped it off on her apron and just...
Popped it straight back in. She's so ugly that when she strolls along Caroline Bay, dogs howl. Mind you, she's considered a bit of a looker in Timaru. Anyway, I said to Madame in my best French, latrine, where would you like it? She says, no compris, monsieur. Me, latrine, no compris. Latrine, where? No compris. Her body was beginning to quiver with frustration. Looked as if the porridge was coming to the boil. So, I decided to break through the language barrier with a bit of pantomime. I demonstrated the digging of the latrine, like this. Then, to make sure there's no confusion, I demonstrate its usage.
I've seen you naked, Bob. You don't need two hands.
Quiet on the cheap seats, please, or I'll have you thrown out of the war. Anyway, at that point, the light dawned, and Madame gave a big smile. The old French coat finally understood. Did you know what she said? Appropriately enough.
Oui, oui, monsieur! That story's better when Malthus tells it.
Malthus's accent makes Madame sound like an African fuzzy wuzzy. Either way, it's 100 times better than your Anzac sausage rubbish.
I warned you I was no good at jokes.
And you were right.
You hear that?
I hear it.
This beautiful country. Do you know that there's a lovely stream just behind those trees? Oh, no, please. Carry on. Isn't that what they say? The rank, it's only honorary, you know. I'm not what you call a real soldier.
Really? You should be careful about wandering off on your own, sir.
Surely there's no danger here. I'm assumed it's so far behind the line.
It's a bad habit to get into. I mean, for later when we are closer to the front.
I'm not sure if you've heard, but the front, it's been known to be slightly dangerous at times. Last winter I almost caught my death of cold.
Yes, of course.
I think the army should consider paying us danger money, don't you, Captain?
But I'm not really sure about matters of pay.
When I joined up, nobody even mentioned the possibility of being killed. Not a peep about it from the recruiting officer. I don't think they factored the danger into how much they're paying us.
I see.
You being a captain and everything, you could bring up the issue with General Russell.
I'll see what I can do, Private Mitchell. I have been under fire, you know.
You don't say.
Yes. Artillery fire, near Florence. Just the day after I arrived from England.
How'd you find that then?
Terrifying, actually. I nearly shat in my pants.
You get used to it.
Used to artillery fire.
No, you shitting your pants.
Until this grave isn't going to dig itself.
That's probably true, but I'd like to put it to the test, just to be sure.
Dig. Is everything alright, sir?
Fine.
How you feeling now?
Much better, thank you. Fresh air. I'm sorry that the stairs.
Do you mind if I ask you where you're from originally? Your accent's a wee bit hard to pick.
I was born in England, in Southampton, actually. But I immigrated with my parents to New Zealand when I was 11. I went to Tiara School in Wellington.
My older sister Alice owns a head shop in Wellington. I'm Anthony Key down the north end.
I don't know the shop, but I'll hazard a guess my mother did. She was very fond of cats. As a boy, we lived in Marama Crescent, close to the park. You, Sergeant Price? Whereabouts are you from?
Christchurch.
What part?
My parents own a hotel in New Brighton, near the beach.
Oh, yes. I've been to New Brighton. Actually, I've sketched the beach, looking south towards the... something hill.
Four Hills.
Yes, of course. It was hard. They were very dry. It took me quite a while to mix exactly the right shade. Tan, like the skin of a dusty lion. You have such a huge blue sky in the South Island. It's beautiful.
Can't really remember.
But you must. It's vast. That was years ago, though. Back when I was young and free to go on painting trips that lasted, well, weeks. You, Private Mitchell, whereabouts are you from?
Oh, from whatever hole the army puts me in. So I'm Passchendaele, it's all home to me.
I take your point.
So it's not a bad life if you can put up with it without cutting your throat.
He's from the west coast, sir. Greymouth. You were a coal miner, weren't you, Bob? A miner from a long line of miners. He has a wife and a son waiting at home for him.
Oh, lovely.
Glad you approve, sir.
I have a girl and a boy myself. Bernice and Brian. You, Sergeant Price, do you have any family at home?
Just my parents, my brothers and sisters.
What did you do before the war?
Teacher. High school.
Really? What did you teach?
Art, actually.
You don't say. You paint?
I graduated from the Canterbury College School of Art. Studied painting under Kitson.
Amazing. I went to the Wellington School of Design under James Deere. Although I dare say I was a student before you.
I was at my team's work. Actually, I was meaning to say earlier, but I saw one of your exhibitions. It was in Dunedin.
What year?
04, maybe 05. I was down visiting my older brother at the university there doing medicine. I thought it very good, of course. I particularly like your seascapes.
Oh, well, thank you, yes. Of all of God's creations, the sea is the most challenging to paint. It has so many moods. You can come back to the same spot day after day, but no 2 days will ever be the same. It is also the most enchanting of all the elements, don't you think? Do you favour portraiture? Still life? Landscapes? Your own work?
After I went teaching, I worked on landscapes at my own time. I fancied there was something I could do on oils featuring the North Canterbury Hills, maybe the geometric patterns of the crops on the plains. I'm not really sure now. My plan was to save enough money to take a year off and devote myself to painting and see if I can make a go of it. Then the war started. Over here there hasn't been much call.
On the whole, the army's been encouraging us to kill Germans rather than paint.
Apparently, someone at headquarters sees the value in art. I've been sent here specifically to paint scenes from war.
Well, if you don't mind me saying, sir, that is fucking ridiculous.
Mitchell!
Oh, may I fit?
You're talking to an officer!
No.
Apologise, Brian.
I wasn't saying that he was ridiculous. I'm saying that pretty pictures of the war was ridiculous. Worse than that, it's bloody obscene. Do you want to know why?
No.
Actually, I wouldn't mind hearing his opinion. Go on.
I'm on to you. I know exactly what type of paintings the War Office wants you to make. Tell me if I'm wrong. Now that this shindig's winding down, some politician wants a pretty picture of a battlefield to hang on the wall of his office in Wellington. You're here to paint lovely trees and and flowers and a few poppies, which are supposed to stand in for the dear brave chaps who died for king and country. When people visit the politician, he can say, "Oh look, that's Passchendaele. Not so bad, really. Isn't that right, mate? Isn't that what they want back home? Some pretty lifer above the fireplace?"
Actually, my brief is fairly open. But I'll admit you're not entirely wrong.
Nobody wants to see what this war really looks like. It would make them puke.
You finished?
I reckon.
Then shut up and dig. I'm very sorry, sir.
Oh. Actually, I understand the private's point of view. There are those in the War Office who would like to paint fields of poppies and heroic charges by square-jawed young men.
Is that what you're going to do?
I've only been in France a week. I've really no idea yet what I'm going to paint. My wife, Sarah, also thinks the whole exercise is something of a folly. She pointed out that when an earl or a duke commissions me to paint his portrait, not only is the pay better, but my chances of returning home alive from the city are generally high.
I have orders to keep you out of harm's way, sir.
Yeah. Sarah would be pleased to hear. Is that why we're so far behind the lines? To keep me safe?
No. I needed to bury those men. Somebody was at the front.
Is that normal?
No, it's bloody not.
The view here is certainly something. Type of scene I might have painted once. Although it would be difficult to truly do it justice. Do you know the name of that town over there?
It might be St. Omer.
Really? There is a very good painting of the cathedral at St. Omer.
By William Townsend, I know it.
The way he captures the morning light falling across the rose window is technique, is inspired.
There's a small figure, a woman, standing in the doorway and going in, I've always thought. She's very small but perfectly rendered in just a few strokes.
I don't recall.
She's wearing a dark blue shawl. You can't see her features, of course, but I always felt that she looked somehow hopeful.
I believe you were a very good teacher. Your students were lucky to have you.
Been a soldier for longer than I was a teacher.
Will it be long before you're back home? Standing in front of a class again? I'm sure you'll slip right back into it.
How can you know that?
It's just my impression. That is, if it's what you wanted.
What else would I do?
Not altogether sure, Sergeant. Perhaps that painting you mentioned. A study of the Canterbury Hills.
You don't know what I'm capable of, all right? You've got no bloody idea. You're standing there talking as if you know me!
I'm sorry.
It's something I've got to take care of.
No, Sergeant, I am sorry. I don't know how I intended to.
You should be careful. The last bloke who offended old Pricey ended up with the sergeant's bayonet through his throat. Then he gutted a couple of other fellas who tried to intervene.
That's a very poor joke.
That's the truth. Happened about a month ago near Lille.
He would have been arrested, locked up.
The three blokes who he killed were manning a German machine gun at the time.
Ah, I see.
Rumour has it the sergeant's up for some type of medal, maybe even a VC.
You're a very brave man.
Or suicidal. I've seen it before. The fella starts walking around in the trenches like he's invisible, volunteering for every crazy mission going, charging machine gun posts on his arm.
You shouldn't say that.
Interesting, isn't it? That a man could win a VC for a failed suicide attempt.
You can't know.
No, you're right. Sergeant Price might just have become very stupid lately.
Well, I say he's a brave man.
I hang a mouse on any bloke who says he isn't. He's been seriously wounded twice. First time was before I met him at Gallipoli. Took half a dozen pieces of shrapnel in his leg. They fixed him up in Alexandria.
Why wasn't he shipped home?
Ah, well, it's a delicate business. If a wound's not quite bad enough, you get sent back to the fighting. A foot of you, good hands the best type of fighting. If you can't march or you can't shoot, you're no good to the army. You finish faster than a 16-year-old with a Paris whore. Too bad a wound, eh?
those blokes in the ambulance, they didn't organise it quite right. Dig your boys! Speak up! Don't mind them, they'll shy around strangers.
I suppose a man gets a good wound if God wills it.
Don't tell me God's fighting for the Germans now. Oh, the traitorous bastard! Maybe he's got that son of his fighting for them as well. The long-haired bugger's probably planting mines in no man's land, even as we speak.
Please, Private, I'd appreciate it if you didn't blaspheme.
Apologies. Jesus Christ, some people are sensitive.
You said the sergeant had been wounded twice.
The last time was about 6 months ago. Sniper's bullet went right through the meat of his right shoulder. Didn't so much as nick a bone. Suppose you're going to tell me that God made that happen as well.
The Bible teaches us that the Lord controls everything. I believe, yes, that he ordained even that.
Then God's a real prick.
No,
Because
please,
after the bullet went through the sergeant, it hit the man who was standing behind him. Sims. Hector from Nelson. He'd only been with us 3 days. Spent most of that time praying, muttering away to that very same God of yours. He was terrified. So he was crouching down and the bullet hit him in the face. You'll be relieved to hear that he survived, though. Of course, he's not as handsome as he used to be.
We can't understand the divine plan.
Whatever God's plan is, he really took a dislike to Sims, particularly to his nose.
And so you believe in nothing, I suppose.
I believe in luck. With luck, you either have it or you don't. Nature just gives it out like a girl gets born pretty or a fella has a good singing voice.
That's just random chance.
Sim's only real problem was that he didn't have any luck.
Luck is not a coherent philosophy.
You'd rather believe that a loving and compassionate God organised to have half a boy's face ripped off. How bloody coherent is that?
Well, I suppose you're lucky.
I'm still alive.
So you are.
You don't want to jinx it, no. I've got it more than most.
Well, I think I'll put my faith in Christ.
The one who was nailed to a bit of lumber, he wasn't lucky.
He sacrificed himself for our salvation.
At least no one's pretending that luck actually cares, and it's a lot more useful than your bloke when the air's thick with bits of flying metal.
We should start my sketch. I thought I might work on the wall and the tree.
That's an oak tree.
Yes, I know.
Well, if you don't mind, I could do with a hand, sir.
As I said, I want to get started on my sketch.
This won't take a minute.
But what is it?
This way, we just need to get these blokes out.
Look, actually, I don't think I can manage that.
Well, I can't lift them by myself.
No.
Who knows how long Price will be now that you've chased them off. Don't worry, they're all wrapped up nice and cosy. Snug as a bug in a rug.
All right.
Right, you grab this joker's thing. Oh, come on, he's not going to bite you. There you go, that's the way. See, you're a natural. It's like you've been in the army all your life. Right. Pop him down on the stretcher. It's easier. Not so much of a dead weight, so to speak. Right, here we go. First class all the way. Next stop, till it's our free. Let's lift him off. You're right, mate. You're looking pale.
Fine.
Good. There's more where he came from. Adam was out from Armageddon, our neighbour. Adam was out from Armageddon, our neighbour. Mademoiselle from Armageddon. She hasn't been kissed in 40 years. Hanky Dinky, our neighbour. chocolate kisses for 10 francs each. Soft and juicy as sweet as a peach. Hanky dinky. Mademoiselle from Arlington's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Arlington.
How would I know if I was lucky?
Advancing on a machine gun post normally settles it one way or the other.
Short of that.
Have you ever played two-up?
What's that?
You've never played?
I think I remember.
You like it. You just take 2 pennies. Oh, like these actually.
Which you just happen to be carrying in your pocket.
I won't pretend I haven't played before. Once or twice.
What are the rules?
Right. The spinner puts them on the kip. Like this. Tosses them up. You can bet on both coming up heads or both tails. One of each and nobody wins.
There's no skill in that. It's just chance.
Same as when you jump the bags. There's no real skill in staying alive either. You're either lucky or you're not. You want to put it to the test?
Why not?
How much you betting?
I'd rather not play for money.
But you have to.
Why?
You can't test your luck if there's nothing at stake. It doesn't work. It's meaningless.
So you're telling me that a godless universe knows and cares whether there's a pound at stake?
A pound? You're wrong.
Heads.
Come in, spinner. Tails! You owe me a pound, Captain Butler.
Look, that proves nothing. It's statistical percentages.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, whoever wins will even out.
Again.
Well, I'll stay with heads.
Come in, spinner.
Damn! Look, I'll bet heads again, and I'll toss them if you don't mind.
Early birds, mate. Make sure they spin in the air, otherwise it's above the throw. Come on, tails. Tails now.
Come in, spinner. Heads. Come on, heads.
Tails!
I don't believe it. It's just luck.
Now you're catching on. You owe me £3, Captain.
Again.
Double or nothing.
Why not?
No.
I call tails. Come in, spinner. Tails. Come on, tails.
One of each. Throw 'em again.
Come in, spinner. Tails. Come on, tails.
Yes!
How do you do it?
Oh, luck sticks to me, mate, like iron filings to a magnet. We should really get the rest of these blokes.
Yes, it's just blind luck.
It's either luck or your God loaned me the snake money. You have that £6 on you now.
Can you wait until we get back?
You get paid all right for those pictures of yours?
Yes.
Then why not? You have an honest face. Oh, Mademoiselle from Arlington's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Arlington's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Arlington's
Is that true? About the boy from Nelson? Or were you just trying to shock me with horror stories?
A horror story?
Yes.
Compared to what I've seen, mate, that's a story to put little girls to sleep at night.
So you're still trying to shock me?
I was a machine gunner on Jackson's Ridge. The Turks came in waves, hundreds of them, screaming their God's name at the top of their voices. We let them get so close I could see each hair on their chins before I opened fire. At that range, the bullets would rip their limbs off. Sometimes, if you hit one just right, his head would explode like a watermelon. After all the fun was over, their bodies lay 3 deep, stinking hot sun for days. You can't imagine the stench, like pork. 100 times worse than this fella. You'd see them twitching, think they were still alive, but it was just the maggots moving under the skin. You look a little pasty, Captain.
Get this over with.
This fella is nice and light. After a big explosion, you often can't find all of a bloke.
You mean that not everything is...
Well, you can only bury what you can find. All the arms and legs, hands and feet and such. Even the odd noggin, all that gets collected up and done separate. Must have been something you ate. What do you have for breakfast? was it the runny eggs? I put money on you having had the tins tongues. It was the tongues. I get you every time. Mademoiselle from Arlington's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Arlington's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Arlington's parlez-vous. On her bed she sure was fun, moving her ass like a Maxim gun. Parlez-vous. You finished?
I hope so.
I still need a hand with the last one.
Lead on, Macduff.
It's Mitchell.
Macduff is a character from Shakespeare.
Oh, I've heard of him. Colonel Shakespeare with the Auckland Regiment. Last one, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
1 moment, Private.
You got it.
Been serving for a long time.
Not quite as long as Price, but near enough.
How is it you've never been promoted?
I was a sergeant for a while, but got in a bit of strife over a joke. There was a restaurant in the town where we used to be able to get a decent feed. Then, a battalion of bloody useless Poms got stationed nearby and closed the place to everybody except for officers. One day, when the place was full of them, I snuck in through the kitchen and rolled a grenade into the middle of the room.
You could have killed them.
I didn't pull the pin, I'm not an idiot.
Well, and?
Grenade! Yelled a major. Oh, and you should have seen the limey bastards move. They couldn't prove it was me, but somehow word got out that I'd been involved, and I lost my stripes anyway.
I wish I'd been there to see them ride.
Like fat rabbits. Grenade!
Don't you ever feel sick to your stomach?
After a couple of months over here, almost anything becomes normal.
Even a boy with half a face.
Now, you want to paint his portrait?
In the end, it is up to me what I paint.
You can't put what we've been through in a picture, mate. You're either here or you weren't.
You must see the need for some type of record.
Every mother back in New Zealand standing on her front step holding a telegram. There's your record. Every girl whose fiancé never came home.
People will eventually forget.
Good. It's the only sane thing we can do.
Sweep all the death and suffering under the carpet of history.
Fuck your pretty words.
Do you have to keep saying that? I am an officer, you know.
Sorry. Fuck your pretty words, sir!
The mothers and fiancés. Have you thought that maybe they'll want something to hang on to? A work of art or literature? Something that tries to offer a glimmer of beauty in the darkness? To make sense out of the chaos? There are paintings on cave walls not far from here, showing great woolly mammoths being hunted. Tiny figures waving spears, animals being driven over cliffs. It's a very human urge to turn life into art.
Ah, Jesus. There isn't a canvas that can stand the weight of this. You got a frame big enough? I just want to forget. We have to. All of us. If you thought about it too much, you'd lose your mind.
But how will the next generation know what happened? What you and your brothers in arms have sacrificed? You have a son. How will he know what his father did in the war?
You saying I should tell them all about the heads of the Turks? Will they teach that in schools, or about the maggots? What it feels like to slip a bayonet between a man's ribs? You leave my son out of it. He's better off never hearing a word, not from a pretty bloody picture on some wall.
It could be worse.
How's that?
The army might have commissioned a poet.
Hey?
Never mind. Do you still need my help? I really would like to start my sketching.
I think that's it. Thank you, Captain.
It was my honor, Private Richard.
It's Fatty Merch, just a bugger it.
A friend.
It's worse than that, he owes me money. We were on leave together last Christmas in Paris. He was with the Wellington mob, but we got billeted together in a room in Montmartre. He spent the whole 10 days eating. I swear I've never seen a man eat so much food. It was all he cared about. Didn't want to see the city. Wasn't interested in women or even gambling, if you can believe that. Oh, Fatty just wanted to go to the restaurant. Reckon it was the best food in the world. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, a different place every meal. I went with him a couple of times and it was all very nice, but as you know, my interests are a bit broader.
All week, he'd been telling me about this top flight place, a really swanky restaurant, famous, that he wanted to go to on the last night in town, but as it turned out, by then, he'd spent all his pay. I'd had a bit of luck on the cards that week, which made up for the money that I'd lost that morning betting on a GG called Fleur de Lis. Number 9, at a race meet outside of town. She looked good, but turned out to be a broken down old nag. So, anyway, I said to old Fatty here that I'd spring for the meal and that he could pay me back.
I went along with them to see what all the fuss was about. Oh, the place was flash, all right. The waiters were so snooty, they made it clear they were doing you a favour just by taking your order.
That's just the French.
Fatty and me both order the beef steak. When it comes, it's tough. They've done their best to drown it in some pepper and mushroom sauce. Fatty says it's great, best thing he's ever had, and all the rest won't shut up about it, but I've had better steak back home at my mother's place in Greymouth. And her recipe for steak involves boiling it. Generally in the same order as the spuds, just for longer.
After we'd finished the tucker, he paid an arm and a leg for the privilege before we left. Now, I had a hunt, dragged old Fatty round the back of the restaurant. He didn't want to go, but I wanted a squiz at their kitchen. We went down this alleyway, peered in, through the kitchen door. What do you think we saw hanging up in the corner? Number 9, Fleur de Lis! Only horse I've ever lost money on twice. Now that the greedy bugger's dead, I'll never get the price of that meal back.
Fuck!
Another deader, mate.
This one's a hunt.
How can you tell his jacket's burnt off and most of his
In
skin?
the boots.
Our boys sometimes take them if they find a good pair in a
He
corpse.
looks like a hunt. His eyes, they're too close together. Look how thin his lips are.
That would be a more convincing argument if he still had both his lips, even his hair's burnt
The
off.
stretcher bearers sometimes bring their wounded in.
For all you know, he could be from Hokitika.
He's not! I know because we're related to nearly everyone in Hokitika. A German paybook. Hokitika my ass.
Private Johann Wiedel.
What did I tell you?
The Kaiser owes him 100 marks.
What's that in real money?
He was in an artillery battalion.
Bastard! So you're the prick feeding us iron rations day and night. Don't! I'm allowed to shoot them when they're alive. The least I can do when they're dead is give them a good kicking. Maybe he was the one that fired the shell that got Parker off with it, mate.
Sometime in the last 2 years, I killed someone that he was fond of. Hey, a cousin, a brother.
What about their direct hit on the hospital? Bloody Hun wouldn't have stopped until they'd taken over all of Europe. And most of the Empire.
I'm not sure that Herr Wiedel would have made it as far as the coast.
Oh, look at Samoa. The Pacific was in their sights, all right. One thing I do know for certain, he's sure as hell not going in the same grave as our boy.
We don't have time to dig a separate one.
You couldn't make me. We dumped him over the wall.
Fine.
The black burial cover.
Someone will find him eventually.
Not my problem.
Or maybe some French kid picking berries.
Hands up, Fritz! I said hands up! Are you deaf or what?
Grab a leg.
Rest up yourself.
If they were all dead, every last time the war would be over, and we'd be heading home.
Yeah, well, vice versa.
Take your beady eyes off me! Something! Son of a whore! Bah! And Passion Day. Right in the thick of it, we overran one of their supporting trenches. Ended up with about 20 prisoners. Lieutenant Jackson left me in charge. Well, he pushed ahead with the rest of the boys. God knows why he left me in charge.
Probably your good looks.
The prisoners seemed pretty happy. Probably imagining a nice POW camp out of the rain and the mud. Warm blankets, regular meals.
Sounds pretty good to me.
They sat in the bottom of the trench talking quietly.
A beautiful language, German.
That was the morning that Sam, Turtle and Spencer were killed. Our boys had been falling since dawn, stuck in the mud like flies on sticky paper. I couldn't actually believe that I was still alive. I didn't sleep properly in days. You remember how it was. I just looked at those Germans. And I hated them. Burning hate like a white hot piece of coal that I'd swallowed. I could feel it eating through me from the inside, burning through my guts. You know that feeling, Pricey? I swear I don't remember how, but I found myself with a bomb in my hand. Really, I don't know how it got there, but it was me who pulled the pin and threw it in the trench in the middle of those prisoners. You should have seen the looks on their faces. Not all of them died right off, so I threw in another one and ran on to catch up with the rest of the platoon. Didn't want to miss out on the fun. A couple of days later, Jackson asked me what happened to the prisoners. I said there was a bit of an accident. He just looked at me. The bugger knew. I could see it in his eyes, but he just shrugged like it wasn't all that important. It was the middle of a battle, for Christ's sake. What were we going to do with all those prisoners? We couldn't spear them into guard them. They would have done the same to us, wouldn't they? One big bloke with short blonde hair and a scar on his chin passed around the canteen. A couple of them are smoking. How is it that there are boys that I've fought alongside for days, but I can't say now what they look like, whether they were tall or short or dark or had green eyes or nothing, but I can still describe almost every one of those Germans.
Same bombs into the same trench full of Germans a few hours before you would have been a hero.
A bloody hero! Medal and everything, and I deserve it too. I deserve a medal, don't I?
Too right.
Something to show my son after. Forget I said anything.
Forget what? Come on, let's get it over with.
Why not? Just a bloody murdering hunt. 1, 2, 3.
Is everything all right, sir?
I thought if I sketched the valley, just as an exercise, maybe something I could use later, even just for background, but it's not right.
Looks like a fine sketch, sir.
Technically, but I could sketch valleys back in England. What would you paint if you were me, Sergeant Price?
Got no idea, sir.
Look, honest. Tell me. I value your opinion as a soldier and as a fellow
I
artist.
can't even imagine holding a pencil again.
Please. Sergeant, please. You're just a bit rusty.
Kitson always told his students to look for magnificence and then hope to capture just a small part of it on the canvas. Now I wouldn't even know where to look for inspiration.
Would you mind if I sketched this?
The oak tree?
No. Yourself and Mitchell as you work. The grave, the bodies. Why not? Just a sketch, as naturalistically as possible. I wouldn't take any liberties.
If you want.
Thank you.
I've just got to check the bodies for personal effects before you notice.
No, fine. Just ignore me.
You make sure to keep my good side, Captain.
And which side is that, Private Mitchell? Careful, I might take you up on that. Your posterior could be preserved for posterity.
Ah!
You all right?
Just a rock.
Bad luck.
Frosty, what do you bet me on this coin toss?
Not now.
No, I need a wager.
I'm busy.
How about if I wash your uniform for a month if I lose?
Fine.
Tails. Everything all right?
Everything's normal.
I can check those boys if you want.
No.
I can deal with it.
I'll do it.
So you this out.
Dear Marge, I got you a nice long letter yesterday.
Pricing?
Really though, it's not so bad here. Damn liar. More later.
Drink?
Thanks.
Anything interesting?
Just a letter to Margaret, his fiancée. I'll make sure she gets it. He mentions that he carried a photograph on it.
Looks like a gut wound. Poor bugger. Probably took him hours to die. Remember that fella touching the tar brush? Fields or Fielding? Gut wound, screaming and moaning all night until somebody goes...
Shut up!
Give me a squiz. Ooh, bit of a beauty queen. Maybe I'll look her up after the war and offer my condolences.
Give it.
Anything else? I was worried my lucky turn. Look what I found.
Leave that.
Nah, it's wasted in the ground.
I'll make sure it gets sent to his people.
Yeah, it's a good one. If I don't take it, some postmaster down the line will.
I'll deliver it then.
No, I found it.
Give it to me!
Okay. Again, here you go.
Is everything all right?
Hand over the watch, Bob.
No.
Now.
No.
You give it to me, you bastard!
What about that silver light you had? That was also a corpse.
Hand it over! That's an order!
Excuse me.
No.
Give.
Make me.
Give!
Excuse me.
What are you going to have me court-martialed or shot for insubordination?
Give the watch to me!
No.
Damn you to hell!
Sergeant Price!
Stay out of this! It's none of your business! It's your last chance, Bob. Give me the watch.
No.
Oh, if you put it there, mate! What all the fuss anyway? It's just...
It's none of your damn business.
Why didn't you just tell me?
Will someone please explain to me what the hell is happening?
It's an inscription. Edward, with love, your father, George Price.
He's a relative.
My brother. I saw his body at the clearing station and volunteered to lead the burial party. Eddie. Stupid little bastard. He had a good job at the Army Services Office in Wellington. No one could say he wasn't doing his bit. Just out of the blue a few months ago, he requested to come here. Almost cried when I saw him. Actually said he was worried he'd miss out.
I'm so sorry.
I couldn't bury him back there. I just couldn't. Not in the mud, at the foot of some shattered tree.
I understand.
I shouldn't have bothered. They're all someone's son, aren't they? Someone's brother.
No, they aren't all your
Come on,
brothers.
there's work to do.
No, wait. Tell me about him. I want to know who we're burying today. If we can't say who they are, they might as well be sheep carcasses.
Isn't that all we are in the end, hey? Just meat and bone?
He had a spirit. That's what makes us human. How many in your family?
Seven children. 3 boys, 4 girls.
What does your father do?
He's a publican. Still owns the Royal Arms on Marine Parade. Our mother wore the pants in the family, though. She was obsessed about bettering us, put a huge emphasis on doing well at school. Particularly for the boys, Laurie, me and Eddie. A bad report card was worse than bringing home typhoid. She wanted us to be doctors or lawyers, and we all resented her for it, especially Eddie. He couldn't see anything wrong with being a butcher, or a baker, a carpenter. She even got an elocution teacher in for a while. A dramatic type with little round glasses. She used to come to the house on Tuesday afternoons, teach us all how to speak like the king. Remember that, Eddie? The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the plain beneath. At the end of each lesson, you'd make a point of talking as New Zealand as possible. G'day, Mum, that was a great lesson, eh? It drove her crazy, remember? She said you'd never amount to anything talking like that. Eddie was the youngest. Don't know what else to say.
How long have you been engaged?
Margaret's his wife.
You said they were engaged.
They got married on the sly a few days before he shipped out. Mother is staunchly COE, but Margaret's people are Catholics. But worse than that, they're dirt poor Catholics. So when Mother caught wind that her future pillar of society was stepping out with the daughter of a Catholic train conductor, she called the boat up to Wellington, and let's just say she drew a line in the sand. Actually, it was more of a moat. He told me when he arrived he'd been married. Said they'd sorted out with Mother after the war.
How old was he?
"22. That's it. Enough.
I have a request. I would very much like to paint your brother's portrait.
Well, you should be able to manage sitting still.
Must you do that? Turn everything important into a damn joke?
Why would you want to paint it?
Because your brother should be commemorated. And I have nothing else to offer.
Would you render him as if he was still alive? He was quite handsome in his own way. Perhaps he could be standing against the wall.
No, I would like to paint him as he is now.
Yes.
Would you mind if we moved him?
Where?
Over there, near the trunk, out of the direct sun.
I'll give you a hand.
Is this all right?
Very good. Thank you.
His face is fine. Looks like he caught a big piece of shrapnel in the stomach. Not a good way to die. Could you give him some hair? Eddie was always a bit vain about his hair.
I'll do my best.
Mother will be pleased. It's normally only generals who get their portraits painted. Did you say before that you'd painted dukes?
Just a few months ago, I painted the Duke of Northumberland.
And now Eddie Price of Christchurch, a publican son.
His Grace had roughly 8 portraits of himself, charting his progress from a slim young idiot to a fat old.
I suspect this will be Eddie's one and only sitting. Did you get on with it? Oh, well, work to do.
It bowed down in sorrow in her lonely years. I heard her mother murmur through her tears. I didn't train my boy to be a soldier. I brought him up to be my pride and joy.
Who dares to place a rifle on his shoulder to shoot some other mother's darling boy? Let nations arbitrate their future troubles. It's time to put the sword and gun away. There'd be no war today if mothers all would say, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. There'd be no war today if mothers all would say, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier.
Bob. That's enough. We should hurry if we want to get back before dark, sir.
I have all the sketches I need. I'll do the painting when I get back to England. What do you think?
I thought it might look as if he was sleeping. It doesn't.
No.
I'll leave Margaret's photograph with him after all.
Wait a sec. The candle on the cake.
Some words should be said.
Don't look at me, I'm the strong, silent type.
Fine. Do you have your note? are here today to farewell and honor men who have fallen in war. They were soldiers who fought not because they had to, but because they believed they were fighting for king and for country in a just, although terrible conflict. Private Hector Murchison, Private Cyril Robert Dudley, Private Edward Matthew Price. All of them are far from home. They are buried here in a corner of a foreign field. 2 of them are without any relatives at all to say farewell. Their parents, their wives, sweethearts, sisters and brothers, children, in all likelihood will never stand where we are standing now, will never gaze across this beautiful green valley. It is up to us who remain here today to say farewell and to thank these men for their sacrifice. Sacrifice made, if we are honest, and put aside sentiment, not totally willingly, because who would not prefer to go on with life? But it is a sacrifice that cannot be ignored and should never be forgotten. Let us pray. Please, Lord, watch over the souls of these men. Welcome them into your home where there are many rooms. And let them stand at your side as the heroes that they are. Amen. I'm not sure of the etiquette. A military salute?
There's been enough shooting. Come on, it'll be dark soon.
I'll pack up the gear. Come on, Captain, are you sure you don't have that 6 pounds on you now? I'll accept the down payment.
If you give me your parents' address in Christchurch, I'll have the portrait shipped to you.
Thank you.
Sergeant Price, well done. This is a remarkably beautiful.
Yes, it is. Dear Mother, Father, Lily, Laurie, Beatrice, Agnes and Al. By now you would have got the terrible news that Eddie has been killed fighting near the Belgian border. I can only imagine how upset you all are back home. I found out from someone who was with him at the end that Eddie was hit while taking part in a very important patrol. He was killed by a single bullet in the chest and did not suffer in the least. Rest assured it would have been instant. By a stroke of good luck, I was able to take care of Eddie's funeral myself. I found a spot as pretty as any back home. Better even than the cemetery on the hill where Grandma Price is buried. Apart from the fact that you cannot visit him here. There are 2 other soldiers buried near him. Friends of his and good men, so don't worry that he will be lonely. His grave is at the edge of a field of wildflowers and overlooks a broad valley. In the distance is an old French town I am positive is called Centrepoint, which you'll be able to find in the big atlas. There is a magnificent oak tree growing very close to his grave. It's just like the one we have behind the hotel in Brighton. I know you will be glad to hear that Eddie is at peace in such a wonderful place. Your loving son and brother, Fenton.
Don't look at me. I haven't got any pictures or stories. Oh, except for the one about the French milkmaid and the English general. No, see yourselves. I never told my son nothing about it. Went back to the coast. It's mine. Get on with it. Made a life. Each to their own. Anyway, that war was years ago now. Us 3. All of the old soldiers were all dead and gone. So answer me this. What does any of it matter now?
Just went on.